Welcome back, everybody, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we're a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty and non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share laughs, impart wisdom, all in hopes of giving you a split second's relief from your day that can hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host, Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third co-host, Shoreline, is silently in the back, making sure our faces stay fit for radio. Hey, first off, welcome back, MVP. Damn, it's been a minute.
It's been a while, man. Sorry, I've been running 7 ways to Sunday. You know,
same here, and we get it, and especially with the way things are going, new headaches popping up here and there. It's just been milking our time, both personally and professionally. Moving things along, we've touched base on this a couple of times, but we never actually made like a direct comment on this. And this is concerning like many aircraft mechanics. We hit like a crossroad where we choose to either stay turning wrenches or we branch out and do other stuff, right? Such as stepping into leadership roles. But like moving into such a role isn't just about getting promotions. You know, that's kind of like one of the main drivers why people take it. It often comes with a lot of internal and external movements that you just weren't prepared for. And some of them you don't realize it until after you take it. And organizational blind spots is what some people would call it. So for today, we're going to go into what it means or what it's like going from being a wrench turner into a desk writer, which is kind of sort of what some of the stuff that we do. And
almost exclusively anymore.
Right. Yeah. And when we're being put into a leadership position, let's take example for me. Like when I'll start from the most base level leadership positions when I was the shift lead. When I first became the shift lead, it wasn't like something ceremonious. It wasn't like I was the most qualified person there or I knew the job. It was literally like, okay, you're like the only one who really knows what's going on. Here's the pen. Here's the clipboard. Make shit happen. What? And I didn't know shit.
Essentially, the tag, you're it.
Yes, and that's pretty much how it was given at that time. Maybe some outfits are a little bit more formal. You know, they have like this whole like christening ceremony, I guess. But some outfits, like the ones MVP and I were on, it's more like, well, you've been here the longest, so here you go. And meetings in 20 minutes. What meeting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll forward you the invite. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, and then you go to said meeting, and then they start asking you all sorts of questions, like. Besides like just being asked the questions outright, it's this own language, so to speak. I'm like, what the shit are these guys talking about?
Yeah. Well, you're using anybody who's seen like the funny TikTok corporate work, what it's like working in corporate America videos with the synergies and the alignment of goals and achievements to better fit stakeholder wallets. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like along those lines. Like they have their own acronyms, but all their acronyms are tailored to finance.
Yes.
That's how they view everything.
Yes. Very, very much so. And this kind of comes into like this internal mindset shift for yourself, even like, why would I want to do that? Right. And most of us who are mechs and we're pretty good at it, or we're very passionate about it, we see that as the dream, so to speak, right? Or that's where our passions are really meeting the road. And that's kind of the reason why we love doing the things we do. And then we look over to the side and see our bosses like just straight suffering. Like, why the hell would I want to do that? And at one point in time, we probably hear a saying from somebody that goes along the lines of, well, you're too smart to stay on the line forever. And yeah.
Like, sure, but maybe I shouldn't go too far, right? We still need talent and things over there, you know?
Right. Or like, why else would I know? I love what I do. I like my schedule. I have a hand. It's predictable. but manageable. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and oftentimes, right? You don't want you want to stay where you're at, but you're also kind of capped out in the position you're in. You're at the highest level, highest end of the pay band for the position you're in, and in order to take that next step, or for your leadership to give you, more money, to be able to get finance and everybody to buy off on giving you a pay increase, you have to step into that next role.
yes. And that's kind of like the intro to a lot of things, right? Like, as you trickle up on the seniority in your shop, that it's the obvious kind of progression of things that you need to start transitioning out of the line and more into the desk, which some people are still really good at doing both, but or most people are they know enough to know how the game works, but they stay on the line, which is fine. We need people like that. That's totally awesome. But for most part, like, it's kind of expected of you to, like, okay, now you're this high, you're this skillful and knowledgeable. It's time for you to start, like, doing more of the behind the scenes stuff, right? And so, like, that initial reaction when you do get stuck into some kind of position of influence, let's call that, right? Maybe not necessarily leadership, but a position of influence, that culture shock really hits you. Like, what am I doing here? I'm not built for that. I just tell them enough, or just give me enough to know so I can get back to the wrenching of things, right? That's typically like the cycle of the first stage of being thrust into some kind of a position of influence, Mm-hmm. And once you do start getting to the positions, there's also this new skill set you have to learn, whether you want to or not. It's either you learn it and you get good at it, or it's going to get forced in you and you just learn it out of survival. An example is conflict resolution. That's probably like one of the largest skill sets you're going to learn, like, on the spot. And if and when you go into other realms or other companies or other institutions, that's going to be probably one of their top interview questions. Like, how do you resolve conflict? And for most of us mechs, our conflict resolutions is I just out curse the other person.
Right. Or I talk crap better than them.
Yes.
Verbally assault them into submission, which, let me tell you, some of the one-offs and one-liners that come out of those situations are just delicious, man. I remember those for life.
Chef's kiss, man. Like, this freaking gold. Another one that you would learn too is translating mechanic speak to everybody speak, like what MVP alluded to. There's different languages.
Both ways, right? You can do that both ways.
Yes. Examples like when we explain stuff, it goes into the technical, very into the weeds of stuff, like stage 1 of compressor 3 or some shit. Like, okay, that's totally a lie, but like we'll go into like the nuances of why things didn't work, because that to us is how we troubleshoot things, right? We break it down into what individual incident level something happened. But to like everybody speak, and even higher than that, you have the executive corporate speak, they don't understand none of that shit. Another example of this is like I was explaining something about an aircraft to somebody, and their eyes just glazed over. Like, I have no freaking clue what the hell you're saying, Six. What does that mean? What does that mean to me? Why should I care? And that's kind of like the frame of mind that you need to understand. Like, okay, this matters to me, but if I were to explain this to somebody else who has no freaking clue what an airplane is, what's that matter to them, right? Like, say, or examples like, say, a passenger, why is the aircraft barking? Is it supposed to bark? And they start freaking out, like, chill, dude, it's fine. Right? The barking is cool. Another big one that I feel like it's a big skill set, and I think this is for every level of leadership position, is learning to delegate without micromanaging. Yeah. Oh man, I can go on. There's such a rabbit hole of this.
I like to think of myself as not a micromanager, and I like to think I've developed a team that is pretty self-sufficient, and they trust me and I trust them. I kind of view my current team like I could go away tomorrow and nothing would miss a beat,
Hmm.
and that's kind of how I think it should be. Um, just that's my own personal take on it, right? That's how I want it to be. If I'm there or not, nothing gets missed. Nobody even realizes I'm not there.
Yes.
Uh, so but I also, I don't micromanage it. Hey, you don't have to come to me for every decision. Just let me know what you're doing, so I'm aware.
Right.
Or if you're not 100% sure, hit me up. Ask me for my input. Hey, here's what I want to do. What's your thoughts? All that's good. I don't want to make every decision for you, and it takes trust, right? You build that over time. Initially, you kind of oversee things. You're like, oh, these guys, they got it squared away. Like I don't have to be over all this. And that's nice. Now, where I struggle is the delegation side of things. I still shoulder a lot of, I'll say, individual contributor tasks. So those individuals who are, uh, they're not hourly, they're salary, but they're not management. So I still do all the management stuff plus a lot of that.
Right.
So I struggle with the delegation side, but I also kind of look at it like, hey, everybody's busy and got stuff to do. I don't want to pile it on their plates when they, and make life harder for them. But then like, some mentors and stuff I've had, he goes, but how do you know? How do you know? I'm like, well, I see what they do on the daily, and he's like, yeah, but does that take them? He goes, your team. Does that take them an hour to do that, or does that take them 6 hours to do that? And I'm like, well, that's a fair point.
Right.
I said, but it's not like they're sitting around doing nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I get it, but at some point, uh, you're the one who's stuck in meetings and such, and somebody's got to do it, and it can't just be you staying 15 hours a day to do it. Well,
Yes.
fair enough, I guess.
Right. And then as far as like learning to delegate and just let go of the wheel, that takes some time, because whenever we are first put into, say, a leadership position or a position of influence, the first thought process is the result, right? We want the result to happen. And this is I believe a tick, so to speak, for everybody who's new into something like that, is when the pressure is on to make the result happen in a timely manner, they kind of just push the new person to the side, like, here, I'll do it, right? Or learn watching me. That's kind of like how we lead / teach, right? And if the person is gung ho enough, they'll just pick it up instead of just letting you do it, right? So that kind of goes into what MVP was saying, is you got to learn how to just let go of the wheel, which is really hard to do, especially if you're on a time crunch. And it's one of those stereotypes that kind of goes with leadership. Like, why would I want to get into this when I can just do it myself? And that kind of shortchanges the ones up and coming, or the ones who are looking for that type of direction. Is, I don't want you to do it for me. I just want you to show me so I can do it for my damn self, so I'm not asking you so many damn times. I think we actually had a conversation like this, or at least a question of this way back from an email from a listener, right? Like, they want to learn, they want to get the thing, and they want their lead to do lead things, but they're too busy teaching me stuff because they just want to get the result done. If you recall that by any chance, MVP.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yep.
So it's definitely something that's a challenge. And a prompt I kind of want to give everybody is like, did any of you feel like you lost part of yourself when you stepped off the line? Right?
It's funny. You were reading my mind, because I'm sitting here looking at two healing cuts on the back of my hand from safety wire from last week. I haven't had those kind of cuts on my hands in a long time, and I'm smiling because it was kind of like when it happened, I was bleeding pretty good,
Yep.
but I was smiling, and the person next to me goes, "Why are you smiling?" I'm like, I haven't had that in a long time. Kind of feels good in a way. in a weird way, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like whatever little skill set I had or skills that I had as a maintainer are slowly dying. They're I'm trading hands on for Excel
Right.
formulas.
Yep. And I felt that I was like, I can picture, like you're kind of like, well, hello, old friend.
That's exactly what it was like. It was like, nobody makes me bleed my own blood, but yeah, I got those, kind of cuts like that, and I don't know, something else. I got fuel on my arm, I guess, at some point, and I didn't realize until I got home, and the Kool-Aid said something about it, and what's that smell? And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, you smell like you used to when you were a mechanic. Huh. And I started like smelling myself, and look, I got fuel on the underside of my arm. Didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. The one thing I'm struggling with is the hands-on skill set or craftsmanship side of it. That's a big one. Like, man, I'm losing my troubleshooting skills. I'm losing my ability to. I'm not as quick. How do I say it? Like, taking parts on and off. I'm not as fluid as I once was. Right, like the repetitive motions.
Like the muscle memory of things.
The muscle memory. There you go. The muscle memory just isn't there right now, and so it's humbling in a bit of a sad way. Just because those skills useful at work, useful at home, and so I just feel like things that didn't take me as long to do take me longer to do now. I feel like I'm losing my vision a little bit, whether it's work projects or home projects, mechanical stuff. You can kind of picture what you're going to do and what you're going to do to fix it, and that takes me a little bit longer now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of some of the things I noticed.
One for me or two things for me is the dexterity of my hands. Like I feel like I got like arthritis now because
That's how I got those cuts.
It just feels so stiff, right? Before it was like really fluid. Like it almost, like, not saying I'm like really, I was really good with my hands at any point in time in my life, but I know it didn't feel as stiff as it does now. Like I feel like when I hold stuff, it really locks into place, like some vice grips and stuff. Like, oh, well, shit, it's not going anywhere now. And the second one that I for sure notice is my, I think is like my technical recall. I guess that's the best way to say it. Like I remember once upon a time, I used to be able to just rap off tech specs, no problems. Right? What's the stage of compression here? Oh, it's this. Oh, I'll just go ham and just be retardedly long longer than I need it to be. Nowadays, everything's all top level stuff. Like, what's wrong with it? How long does it take to fix? How many defects did we find? Blah, blah, blah. Like real wave top stuff. I'm like, wow, man, I remember.
Is it fixable? Can we fix this, or I got to order parts? What's going on?
Right. Right. And but before it was like, well, I can give you 12 different answers for the same question. I'm like, well, I've noticed that part slipping in me. And this kind of transitions into another point of like when stepping up isn't always about the fear, it's about what the role actually represents, right? Being the lead mechanic, being the shop supervisor, being the cute,
which you hated for so long, kind of
yes.
thing. Yeah,
yes. I can just picture that line from Star Wars or something like that. Like you've become that which you tried to destroy or some shit like that.
Yeah, or Van Helsing, he says it. You will become that which you've hunted so passionately, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the criticisms why I think today, anyways, less and less people want to actually be leaders. You know what I mean? They just want to be the paid technician, right? Like I make as much as my boss, and I'm twice as happy, or something like that. Or I don't know what it is. Like I've observed this lately. Not many people actually want to be in a position of leadership or a position of directed influence.
I've actually witnessed recently several managers where I'm at have announced their intention to step down. They're going to they're not even going to leave their team. They're going to step down to back to a individual contributor on their team and let somebody else take over the management side of it. They're burned out. They're done.
Yeah.
You know?
And some of them and some of it can probably stem from like some level of imposter syndrome, and others, like you said, it's like this burnout. Like I'm just, it's either the burnout or the fear of the burnout, right? Like, why would I want to put myself to that?
Well, also you need to look at the level of management that it is, right?
Yes, that is true.
Middle management is the worst because you have to relay things up channel to executives who don't really care, just want results. And then you have to relay corporate decision making down to the lower levels and explain how, working overtime this weekend is going to positively impact, to those kind of, to the lower level, what's the technical term for this?
Touch labor.
Touch labor, yeah. To the touch labor, right? And because you were touch labor, and you remember those times when those kind of decisions were given to you, and it was just kind of a do it because you have to. You don't have a choice. But now you want to try to explain it more, but then it's just 100 questions, and you're trying to appease the masses with bad information,
right?
Meeting your boss's objectives, but then no matter what you say to the touch labor, it still sucks. They're not going to be happy about it. And I understand because I was there. So you take those concerns and you go back up chain to people who really don't care about that,
Yes.
We'll just tell them, it's their duty to support, mission and customer. And we have deadlines to deliver.
Right. And
so you want to go to your boss and say, they don't care about that. Hell, I don't care about that. But it's really rough. This is going to sound terrible, but the people aspect of being a manager is the absolute worst part of being a manager. Dealing with people. There are management positions out there where you have 0 direct reports, and those are choice if you can get those. Those are excellent positions to be in. But it's the ones where you have to deal with people. Now, it's not that way all the time. But every team, all of us know this, every team, everywhere we work, there's 1 or 2 individuals that just make you want to run your face straight into a wall. And it's because of what I was just saying, right? You're relaying bad news and they're upset about it and they're pissed off, and you're trying to explain, in a way that spins the narrative and makes it not so bad, but you recognize it still sucks because you got to work a weekend, and that it's just falling on deaf ears, but it falls on deaf ears either way. No matter which way you try to go to get a happy medium resolution, it's somebody's going to be upset. And is your boss? You want your boss upset at you, or do you want your team upset at you?
Right.
And there are situations where either or is a better option.
Right. And that's one of the main concepts, right? And I think that's what really pushes that reluctance to be set in a leadership position or in a position of influence, is because it's very negative, right? There's a whole lot of negatives that in some cases outweigh the positive. For instance, like having to babysit adults, right? Why am I having to hold your hand through all these different things? You should know how to do this, but here we are.
Or this one. This is probably the biggest one I think a lot of us can agree on. Why in God's name am I having to talk to you again about showing up on time?
Yes, right. And especially if you're in middle management, right? From lead to middle management, you're basically like the punching bag between the top level management and the crew below you. It's like you're getting double teamed from either side, seeing who can punch you harder, right? That's a terrible
What's that? Remember the old clown punching bag where you would punch it and it would go back and then come back up and it would laugh at you?
Yes.
That's essentially what middle management is. You just punched on both sides. You're just the clown punching bag.
right? And that's what as people ask, like, why would I want that for myself, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier. Is like the context matters a lot, right? You have toxic leadership, you have poor mentoring, you have a lack of support, which I feel is probably one of the biggest ones, is that lack of support. And all that equals the burnout before you even fully understand what your role is, right? Or even you do understand, and all those things compound, and like, you know what? To like you said earlier, like why am I still doing this? Why do I want to do it? Right? I saw what my last lead went through. I saw what my last manager went through, and I said, nope. I wish I had like
or you go through it and you're working through problems and you do X, Y, Z and this, that, and the other, and you think you've got the situation resolved. And you're like, oh, finally, that was a rough last couple of weeks. And then 2 days into the third week, your manager in HR calls you into the office and says they're putting you on a PIP because this employee complained about the way you spoke to them. Mm-hmm. And now you're defending yourself to people who weren't there, to your boss in HR, and trying to explain that you were not condescending, you were not this, you were explaining corporate doctrine to them. And like, okay, maybe they're used to me sugarcoating stuff, and I didn't sugarcoat this one. So now I'm on a PIP.
Yes.
Because of the way I approach somebody. Great. Why would I want to continue? You know?
Yeah.
Like nobody's got your back.
And I think you hit it a little bit, which is kind of one of my internal fears, I guess, is that failure piece, or that looking like you like not necessarily weak, but you're not being aggressive enough in the result, right? Like especially in a performance-driven field like aviation and aircraft maintenance in general, being seen as not good enough is, to me anyway, is very paralyzing, right? Like, you didn't do this right, you didn't look at this good enough, and that translates to like the upper echelons, right? Like, you didn't deliver on time, you went over budget, you didn't manage your people properly, you didn't staff the shifts properly, blasey blasey, you know, like, oh, simple. I'm going like basic, like nuisance kneecap level stuff, but like all these things, when you're being told this, it really fucks with you, to the point of like I said, like this action paralysis, like, whoa, fuck. And then even worse than that, for me anyway, is having to answer for other people's mistakes. Why did so and so stick his fingers in the compressor blade? Fuck if I know. Right? Or
certified maintainer, just like I am, and I've never done that, and nor has anybody else in the team. But you know, private schmo over here decided that that was a good idea today.
Yeah, and having to, and especially, you know, when you have to, like, I don't know, like third person omnipresence, transfer your brain into your stream of consciousness into a past action of theirs, and try to like slow walk it from the time of incident to the time of what caused them to have that idea in their head, right? And we all, as you said, no one's gonna care what your answer was. They just want to know who they have to scapegoat for this, right? And in most cases, it's you. So like,
oh, you're 100%, yeah. You need the touch labor. It's there. You have to have it. Mm-hmm. You can stretch middle management thin and get rid of a couple of people and spread their tasks out over the remaining. And look, that's honestly, and you're gonna lose to the executives. That's just how it is. So, should you keep the middle management and maybe a couple of and get rid of a couple of the higher ups? I think that's ultimately going to be unpopular opinion, but you know, keep your touch labor. Unless they're like terrible, then get rid of the touch labor. You know, it could go across the board, but in a business sense, it makes sense to keep your touch labor who's building, maintaining the product, and get rid of some upper management, recoup some dollars that way, and let middle management take on some of those tasks. But just like the middle tax bracket in this country, you get hammered. So middle management, you're going to lose to the upper because they have the control and the decision making authority, and they also recognize that you need the hands on, and so you're the scapegoat. Now,
Hmm.
now this might also be an unpopular opinion. I had a mentor tell me, well, I was explaining kind of some of these very situations we're talking about, going, hey, it's kind of rough. You have to get this crap news from upper management, and I've got to relay it down to the team, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and they're just angry and they're upset and they're pissed off and they don't want to come to reason. And I'll even with my team like, hey, this sucks. How do you guys think we can handle this though, to where it's like the least amount of headache for all of us?
Hmm.
And and he says, well, that's a great approach, right? Give them some say into it, so they have some accountability and responsibility. Like, okay, it's a bad situation, but we can take control of this. So, giving an example, right, of weekend work, instead of one or two people being told to work the whole weekend, the team came up and they're like, "Hey, I don't have anything Saturday morning, so I can cover 6 to noon, but my kids got games in the afternoon." All right, well, cool. Then I'll come in at noon and I'll cover till. I can only cover till 4 though, because then my kids got a late game somewhere else, or we've got a family gathering or something to go to. Okay, and then the next person 4. So instead of two people working, there might be 4 or 5 people working, but it's in short sprints,
Hmm.
and
Right.
they're covering each other. So that gives them some buy-in and some say. So, all right, yeah, it still sucks to work the weekend, but it ain't a full day. But then here's where my mentor came in. He goes, however, if they don't want to, if they just want to be angry and don't want to help and provide solutions and X, Y, Z, he goes, then ultimately you just make the call, uh, regardless of people's feelings. And I said, man, it sucks. He's like, right. But at the end of the day, whose opinion do you care about more? Your employees or the person who signs your paycheck?
Right.
Well, fair point.
Right.
Like I
and
got a
and
family to support too.
right.
And some of the listeners might be going, "Oh, you guys, you're so wishy-washy and back and forth." But I'm telling you, it's situation dependent, and it's
Yes.
day to day, hour to hour.
Yes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
you just have to make the best call with what you can at the time. But at the end of the day, if nobody wants to work with you, then why should you? If when I say work with you, if nobody wants to help find a resolution with you, then why should you help? Then why should you care what the outcome is as long as the job gets done?
Right. And that's one of the biggest challenges and probably one of the negatives of being in a position like that is because sometimes you just got to make the hard call. Now, we will caveat and say like there's ways you can make a bad call worse, but like there's a lot of things you got to factor in and weigh out. But ultimately, I mean, you could only weigh a lump of shit so much before you just realize like, well, I'm working with shit. It's not good. It's
It's
not
like
good.
it's polishing a turd. Like at the end of the day, it's still a turd.
Yeah, exactly. So with the negatives aside, why would some people want to step up into a leadership role, right? Why would you want to do this, right?
I can tell you a couple of main reasons. Sorry to cut you off, but a couple of the main reasons for me was, one, career progression. Right.
Yes.
That was kind of the next step. Uh, and with that comes better pay, and yeah, you get headaches and this and that, and you work through them, and things happen, just like with any job. But a main one for myself was freedom over my own schedule.
Yes.
I can
Yes.
I can kind of come and go as I please, and I can adjust myself around so I can make sure I'm there to attend my kids' activities. And I didn't have that kind of control really when I was maintainer or touch labor, as you've heard us reference.
Yes. Most definitely. And that's a flexibility a lot of like mid to upper leadership people get to make, right? Leads maybe kind of sort of, right? They maybe have an adjusted schedule to kind of meet the needs of the demand but for the most part, leads are it's mostly ceremonial, right? Unless like it's one of those like you're coded as a lead and you're getting paid and you have all these extra additives, for being a lead. But either case, right? Like you do have some say in your schedule, right? Whether you're just providing inputs to when you can work or you're the one actually making decisions when you're going to work. Either way, that's a damn good perk to have, right? I remember there was this one joke or something I remember on social media. It says like, you get three options. You can choose how much you get paid. You get to choose where you get to sleep, and you get to choose when you sleep. And then when you get high enough, you get to pick two of them, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is fairly true, but at the same time, right? Like, as far what, and I think that's talking from a technician's like ground level perspective. But once you trickle up into the career progression tree or the career progression ladder, a lot of those options a lot of other options get tacked on, right? Like, what kind of schedule do you want to work? What kind of hours do you want to have? Or I can flex my hours here. Like, I work 8 hours here. Like, out of 40-hour work week, I can work 15 hours here, 3 hours here, whatever hours here, and as long as it adds up to 40, I'm solid, right? That's a level of flexibility you're only going to get in a leadership position. Maybe one of those on-call technicians you might, but for the most part, it's job demanding or job dependent. Another one that I've seen people want to step up into a leadership position, and this might be like an internal call, maybe not so much a reason, is the wanting to fix the system, right? Like we get tired of doing the same mundane stuff over and over and over. And what I mean by mundane is like it's the same old stuff, same old result, but people expect different answers, right? Or they do the same thing expecting different results. And this cycle of things, it gets very old and ineffective. So wanting to step into a position of influence can be like, well, I want to fix this because I know how to fix it, but no one's going to listen to technician step one on the line. They want someone with a little bit more oomph, someone with maybe, I don't know, like a tie and shit to tell them how and what to do stuff. Others, it's like mentoring. Some people just really love to talk and teach people, for sure. Definitely need one of those. And just there's like this unspoken thing with being in a position of influence where like your voice matters or you feel like your voice matters more, right? Versus like if a technician or an aircraft mechanic were to talk to, say, like a region manager, he'll have a voice, sure, but it's mostly just in one ear out the other for the most part, other than the only thing that they're hearing is dollar signs. Right? Sad to say, that's really all they hear. But if you're from a managing position or you're from a lead position and you start weighing in on things, that counts as subject matter expertise. And that gets taken for action more times than you think. Like, I think we should cut schedule here so we can meet other things over here. Or I feel like we should switch to this shift so we can have better coverage and better flexibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, that influence only happens at the higher level, right? And that's one of the key perks, I guess, of stepping up into stuff like that, right? For you guys over there, or everyone out there, this also exposes you to like, well, just how far am I willing to go, right? There's some leadership positions like I just would never touch. Like I know for a fact I'm not going to go there because that turns into a whole lot of what do you call it? It's like trying to turn a boat. You know, it takes a lot to get it to go. And it's very slow moving. It's very political. You have to weigh in a whole bunch of shit, and it's more headache than what it's worth, in my opinion. Like the paycheck doesn't justify it.
I will say I agree with that statement. Like, yeah, middle management is pretty rough place to be in. But as we're talking, and Six is talking, and I'm thinking about some other things. I think then that the next level up from where we're at is more decision making power. So more power over things, but longer days. But
Yes.
longer days because now you are a direct interface with the customer, and all the meetings and all the contractual stuff and all the things that go with that. You you're at the mercy then of what I would call corporate executives, the high end of the chain,
Mhm.
and they're working from home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're working from home, so you're the low level directors. They're at the mercy of the VPs and beyond, for ensuring that all these different reports are done on time, and budgetary things, which at those levels, that's the main concern, right? So it's a lot of time and effort spent over budgets and haggling and back and forth and customer interactions and all those kind of things. So at the level we're at, it's rough because you're kind of the punching bag, but still get some, you got some freedom over your schedule. And then the next step up, what were those three things you were mentioning, Six?
Oh, like
You traded off the freedom of your schedule for uh, better pay, but this and decision making authority. Like you traded one out for the other. Remember in the early days of the Halo, you could only carry like two of the perks or whatever, or like in the early modern warfare days, you
right.
could only pick two perks. But I want scavenger, and I want speed run, and I want bullet sponge. Well, you can choose two of those three. Damn it,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And another example with that is the higher you go, the more the company becomes your identity. If that makes any sort of sense, right? Because like once you start trickling upwards towards the management, it's almost an unspoken rule that you have to embody what the company is or what that organization is. And for the most part, if that aligns with you, then by all means do it, man. But being in the position we're in and lower, we kind of have this freedom to just take the coat off or take the jacket off and no one would know better, right? So like I can be person X at work and then person Y on the weekend is like vastly different, and you have that luxury, I guess. But say once you get into like say the upper management or even the corporate management, the company is your identity. That's all they know, right? And whenever the company fails, that's basically saying you're failing, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So
the crap rolls downhill.
yes, and then
And
that's
so and so a prime example of this, right? And we were talking about it's all budget at those upper levels. So when all the VPs and the presidents are sitting down with CEOs discussing budgets, and they say we came in 25 mil less this quarter than last quarter. Now, and the CEOs are going, God help you if this happens the next quarter. And so, man, they're all coming back to their respective divisions and areas of operations and punching down,
yep, yep, very very true. And so, how can we as techs prepare for that next step, right? How can we prepare ourselves? First and foremost, this is probably like the most obvious is we got to get better at communication. Wow. Amazing. Right. And not just like communication on the line as a whole, because we as mechs have like this whole unspoken way of talking. But communication, we didn't realize just how much we weren't communicating until we got into like these new leader roles. And you'd be amazed at just how people just silo themselves off or isolate themselves from the rest of the world. And they only understand their language. But once you get into like the upper echelon of things, you got to learn how to start translating things. You got to know how certain people talk, what makes people move. Because for us, we say code 3 or code 2, no big deal. But to the person to the other side of you or the person above you, when you say code 2, it doesn't ring as it should. right? Some of them, they only, I say, what the fuck is code 2? And the other ones would be like, how much money is that costing me? Right. So understanding the communication piece is definitely probably one of the easiest, if not, but also the most vital step is of any type of career progression. Let's see. I think the second one we would say is conflict resolution for sure. We, being able to put out fires, whether the people below you start them, or the people above you start them, or it just got started because you tried to make a situation better and it just had like this unknown trickling effect. Whatever, being able to just put down fights or conflict.
Yeah. Now, I went through a training. Maybe a month ago for conflict resolution. Right, it was for management. We all had to go to it. We were talking about the ways to identify and how we can diminish arguments and things like that. And basically, what it came down to is just get HR involved right away. Right, can't be wrong doing whatever HR tells you. Okay, sure, but like, also, am I really going to run to HR for every little thing like that? I feel like that's also diminishing my ability as a leader if I'm just going to run and default to them. So I kind of view it as like, let me try some internal, what we learned in kindergarten, conflict resolution skills, and if either side won't back down, all right, then okay, maybe you got to get HR involved at that point and go, you tell me what I got to do, and I can't be wrong, and I can't be fired for it.
Right.
But I feel like running right away is kind of like, unless it's like something super severe where you're like, oh, I'm not touching this without some backup here because I'm not about to get keel hauled over a decision I make for this, right? For other people being dumb.
Right.
But if it's some minor trivial BS, then like, am I really gonna? Oh, go! Here he goes. There goes MVP. Run and cry to mom again.
Right. Okay. Like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to HR. I've seen this happen a lot too, where like they don't want the onus to be on them, so they just default to HR. Like, well, HR told me I got to do this, right? I'm like, okay. I would say another good one. This is probably one of the ones that also comes as a perk is time management. Understanding your schedule, understanding how long it takes you to do things, understanding how long things take is definitely a big one. Like, for a fact, if it takes 4 to 5 days for a supply system to reach you, you're not going to be scheduling things for the next day. You know what I mean? Or if you on your shift, you have people who can do X, Y, and Z at a certain time, then you want to task them out you want to be able to make sure that they're on these jobs and stuff like that. Right. Or
be better prepare for because you have a bigger picture.
Yes.
Viewpoint,
Yes. Or say if for yourself, even if a job takes you this long, depending on the frequency of it, like how often it happens, you might want to stick yourself in there so you can get better at it, or just have that as a boundary line for you. Like, well, I'm only going to do this if we have this much lead time or this much leeway because it takes me this long and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're being honest about what you can actually do. I would also say
there's a, and I learned this in another training. Well, I had kind of seen it through one of the program managers where I work at first. It's a quad chart, and it's like a prioritization of things. Theirs was very funny worded, like it was a comedic relief version of the real thing, and the real thing I saw at one of these trainings. But it was I can't remember the titles. It was like high priority, and high value. No priority, no value, or so. Those 4 different things, and that's how you would time management, right? Like that's how you would the things that you have to get done. You would categorize in one of those quadrants, and there was like, okay, the easiest ones to go through first. What's no value add to the program, to your job. So and so said they wanted me to give my opinion on where I see. No, what was it? It was I can't remember. It's like those one off. Like, hey, we'd love to hear your feedback. Like corporate surveys.
Yeah. I think I
That's
know what you're
going
talking
over
about.
that's going over in the don't need to do and no value add category. Yeah, sounds terrible with me as a manager to say, but in the grand scheme of things, in a international company with six digits worth of employees, like who really cares what MVP has to say?
Yep.
So like that goes over to like I don't need to take care of that, but I do have this report that is a contract deliverable to the customer, and that's due at the end of the week. So that's going up in here in the value add, high priority kind of thing, and then you just adjust from there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'll have to dig up the paperwork to get the actual words, but
I may have heard it different. I think it was similar. No, if we're talking about the same thing, I believe it goes like important and not important as like kind of like a row, I guess, and then it was urgent and not urgent. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, you got it right. That's it. Yeah,
and I believe it was like if it was important and urgent, that's something you do right now, like do right away, right now. Mm-hmm. But if it was important but not urgent, that's like just schedule it, right? Kick it down the road. Mm-hmm. We'll get to it when we get to it. What was it? I think not important and urgent. Not important, urgent. I think it was like I think it was pass it down or delegate, right? Like it's urgent but not important. It's a good skill builder. Here you go, figure it out. Here you go, next guy, figure it out, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think if it was not important, not urgent, you just get rid of it, right? Like not non-value added. Why are we doing this, right? So I think it was something like that.
This is not a thing we need to be concerned with.
And I think I've seen another one similar to this, but this might be more of a skill thing. It was like same thing: important, not important, urgent, not urgent. If it was like urgent, not important, then I would task out to do like say like my assistant, right, or my up and comer. Here, do this. If it was like urgent but doesn't require any skill, then I'll do it, right? Right, something like that. I can't remember. It was like a manager square or some shit like that. Anyway, I would also suggest, like, for everyone out there who's looking to step up or class themselves up to it, is take notes from people like leaders and managers and people of higher positions that you respect, right? Build like this mentoring relationship with them, because they're there for a reason and you respect them for what they do, obviously. So they must be doing something right. And that's how you can kind of learn how to navigate yourself without making the same mistakes, if that makes any sort of sense. And as far as technicians is concerned, this may sound weird, but it works. I promise. Is learn how to manage up, right? Not manage down. Anyone can talk down because you have a position or you have like a pay grade or something, that kind of obligates the people below you to listen. But being able to manage up is game changing, at least for me. MVP and I, we've joked about this so many times. Like, you can accomplish anything if you don't care who gets the credit. And sometimes this involves you just giving like a nugget of knowledge into the upper manager's brain, right? Like, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we did this, right? And just plant the seed in their head and make them think that they came up with it, right? Oh, of course they're gonna take credit and all this and that, but hey, whatever. The change happened, right? I don't care if it gets the credit, but now everything's better. That's a win, right? And then also be able to manage or lead your peers. That's probably going to be the hardest one of all, because we're buddies, we're friends, we know how to shoot the shit with each other. We have the same level of responsibilities, but it's not very often that one has to kind of assume the adult role, I guess, and having to just and vice versa, having to just take orders from someone who's in the same level as you, right? And I feel that's where a lot of the point of tension happens, or a lot of the fights happen, is when people like they feel like they're in the same level of suffering. Why should I have to listen to you and stuff like that? Okay, I let one more from me. I would say, okay, this might be like in the level of like like martial arts and stuff. Is f- like study and read up on leadership roles outside of your trade. You know what I mean? Like at MVP and I, we learn stuff from different skill sets like carpentry and art and stuff like that. And the reason why we do stuff like this is because of how are they doing things that work, and what are some of the things that we can pull and integrate with ours. And a big one right now is with software. A lot of stuff is going software. So software people have a different way of doing things, and it's very like pull as needed kind of thing, if that makes any sort of sense. Software people understand this. Like you only pull things as you need them. And lo and behold, we're seeing this stuff into the aviation world, where a lot of things is pull as you need it, right? It's just in time, so to speak. We don't have a stock of stuff. It's always just pull as you demand it. So how that type of working is very foreign to me still to this day, but it's becoming more and more integrated of our lives. And that's kind of one of those things like, okay, I need to get an idea. I need to get a beat on this. So when it fully integrates into our realm of things, I'm not learning this for the first time and being lost in the sauce like everybody else. I would say don't wait for the position to be given to you. You got to kind of build it for yourself. If that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to. I had an employee tell me once, like, I don't. They wanted to get promoted, and I said, okay, well, what do you think you've done to warrant that promotion? Oh, well, I show up on time and I do this, that, and the other. I said, those are all the basic job requirements of your current position. If
Right.
we want to look it up on the website, I can show you where it says those are your current things. So what else are you doing to warrant that step into the next level? Well, I don't do the work until I get paid. And I'm like, cool. Well, then I don't pay people who I don't know can do the job.
Right.
Oh, it appears we're at an impasse. Yeah, for you, I guess. I don't know. like whatever. If you're just that's the hill you're going to die on. But that's the kind of thing where it's like, you kind of got to prove you can do it. So if you see there's a need for something, or even a possible need, maybe it's an idea that doesn't get taken, but maybe it's something nobody's even considered before.
Yes.
Just it doesn't have to be a fully polished thing. But like, hey, I saw this the other day, or I heard this in a meeting, and it made me think about this, and I threw some things together here. What if we created off of this inspections, we could show how. And think about it, you as a maintainer, right? Like, what's your biggest complaints? All right, figure out how you can get some sort of numbers applied to that. Hey, our numbers of return to service time are down because 9 or 8 out of 10 times are waiting on a supply to bring us the part out to the line. And I went and looked into it, and the problem is strictly on third shift. Almost exclusively. And so digging deeper, they only have one person assigned to that shift. And if they call out sick or whatever reason, that's it. We're done for the day. So, and you can bring that to your boss, and they can go, really? Only one person? And then they can go talk to supply management and go, hey, this setup ain't working. You know what I mean? I'm getting punched in the face for not my return to service times. And that's because you aren't staffing appropriately. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then if he goes, well, I don't have the budget to staff. Great. Let's go down the hall and talk to the big boss and say, we need funding because of XYZ reasons. That kind of stuff, right? That's the kind of thing that shows you're looking at the next level, the bigger picture kind of deal.
Right. And and that's like the goal of all of it, right? Or that's like the biggest thing. Being in the leadership role, from dropping the wrench to being into a desk rider, it's not about barking the orders. It's about making the influence when it needs to happen, right? It's not about, and it's also not being liked. Okay, we've said this before. We've said it. We said it again today. It's not about being liked. It's about being fair, and it's about making the result happen under the best possible conditions, right? And you don't need to be the best person on the floor for this. I know for a fact I wasn't the best mechanic on the floor. There's dudes who could run laps around me with knowledge and stuff. I mean, they probably could run laps for me anyway. I'm not exactly in shape. So, but you don't have to be the best in order to trickle up. I mean, case in point shows too. But you just you just got to be the one who identifies the need, as what MVP said, or the possible need, and being the one to see it to result. That's what matters. Right?
Yeah. Like I said, we've talked about this before. I mean, anybody can identify a problem, but finding the root of the problem and then coming up with a possible solution, that's the key.
Yes. Okay. So as a quick rack up for all of this, right? We've all had that point in time where we come to a crossroad where it's stick with a wrench or pick up a mouse, right? Or write the keyboard, right? It's a progression thing. Whether we choose to take it or not, that's whatever the demand is for your areas, right? And we can also see that the reluctance to want to be in a leadership position is normal, and it's valid, right? There's a reason why I will not trickle up past a certain point, and these different roles, these escalating positions of leadership can be rewarding if you do it right. You don't have to rush this stuff, but you also don't have to go in blind. So here, I'll leave this as an ask for everyone out there before we fully wrap up. Is like, have you ever been offered a role, and did you take it or did you walk away from it? Right? What were your reasons behind that? And as we've alluded throughout the show, there's highs and there's lows, and what your drive to actually be there, it's going to be the thing that keeps you going, if that makes any sort of sense. Any final go backs or thoughts to share with everybody, Mr. MVP?
So I looked up the time management quadrant. All right. So if we make a quadrant, and on the top left we have urgent, and on the top right we have not urgent, and then on the left side of the quadrant on the top row, so urgent and not urgent are columns. All right. Within this quad chart, they're the columns. And for the rows, on the top row, we have what's important and not important. So in the upper left of the quadrant, under urgent and important, are crises, emergencies, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, last-minute preparations. In the upper right, under not urgent but important, we have preparation, planning, prevention, values clarification, capability improvement, relationship building, true recreation, relaxation. And then in the lower left, we have urgent and not important, interruptions, some callers, some emails, meetings, other pressing matters. So I'll say like those fires that kick off in our day-to-day work, and then popular activities. And then under the lower right, which should be not urgent and not important, is busy work, trivial activities, some calls and emails, like I explained, can go into there, escape activities, and time wasters. So just apply some of that to your day-to-day operations, and I recommend throw those in a quad chart, in this quad chart format, and see what you do on a daily basis and where they fall under there. And anything that falls in number 4, just delete those off your calendar, right? Like, that's not a thing. Delete those emails, delete that. You don't have to respond, you don't have to call back. Urgent, not important. I guess those are kind of situation specific,
Right.
probably. But then, important but not urgent. It says true recreation, relaxation. I you know I could go either way.
Right.
I mean, it's definitely good to get your downtime,
Yes. Yes.
but
Well,
you're planning, and so so here's the interesting part, right? A lot of what number one are all things that weren't taken care of in the number two. So whatever's in the upper left under urgent, important could all be mitigated through upper right, which is not urgent, important, i.e.
right.
preparation, planning, prevention, right? So one, or the upper right, urgent, important, a lot of those are results of poor planning.
It ain't so, right? And that not just shows the dynamic of things, because these can shift, right? And that's another thing that we learn throughout our times, and something you can too, is like these little quadrants that we mentioned, they can shift. Urgent, not important are stuff we would schedule, but if we kick it down the road too much, it's going to turn into urgent, do it now, and now we're scrambling. You know what I mean? So that'd be a good way to work, is if, like, you don't want to always live in the urgent, important, do it now, because most of the times that's in like a crisis response mode. So, but if we can break all those down, like what needs to happen right now, this very second, versus something that we can kick down the road later, and then now you can plan your stuff out and anticipate the shift, so to speak, right? I think that's what MVP was going with here, right? Is if we just wait for it to happen, then obviously everything becomes urgent. But if we anticipate it and then kind of use those bottom quadrant stuff to kind of decompress, then we're not forever living in this urgent, do it now mentality. And that would definitely, that's a definite mark of you're ready for the next step in the progression chain. And that's what people will expect once you get into those positions, that you can understand those shifts and you can anticipate it and actually do something about it before everything turns into the red and you have to just be fully reactionary and never proactive. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Woo! Look at me, just taking it and run with it, man.
Yeah.
But hey, what do you guys think? What did we miss? What kind of stuff have we added? Tell us your stories. Like, have you been given a position of leadership? Did you take it? Did you leave it? What made you want to? What made you want to? What made you did not want to?
Were you in a leadership position and stepped down? Why did you do that?
Yes.
Obviously, if it's super personal reasons and you don't want to discuss, I understand. But if you're willing to, please do.
Yes, please let us know in the comments, social medias, emails, whichever is the easiest way for you. The absolute best way to have conversations like this, and so we can all learn and distribute the education together, is through our Discord channel on Patreon. All our patrons, we appreciate your support. We love you guys for giving us the ideas and keeping us going. So if you want to have that type of interaction, join us on Discord on Patreon. Mr. MVP, any final closeouts?
Yeah, apologies for being absent for so long. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll try to get better and try to get myself more available to get with Six and continue making episodes for all of you who support us to listen to. So appreciate your patience and understanding, and thanks for being you.
We love and appreciate you all, you guys, for keeping everything flying and keeping them safe. And with that note, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. We'd like to take a moment to give a heartfelt shout out to our fantastic patrons. Your unwavering support is the magic behind the show, helping us produce thrilling episodes, keep our gear in top shape, and create awesome merch just for you. With special shout outs going to SaKonna, Eric Shaw, Kiel K, Daniel Liang, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockdale, Carm M, Dan Schubert, and Ryan Freshour. Thank you all so much for your support and your patronage. If you enjoy our show, why not join our Patreon community? You'll unlock a whole slew of perks, including access to our private Discord community, special discounts, early board access to our merch, and front row seat to our sneak peeks of our comics and other projects. And if you're feeling adventurous, don't forget to strut your stuff as an aviation aficionado by visiting our store at cancelformaintenance.com. For those who appreciate a touch of class or rugged charm, check out our affiliate at Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX for 10% off your total order. If you need a headset, be it for in the aircraft or on the ground, or just need better ways to preserve your hearing, visit DalcomTech at dalcomtech.com. Got a burning topic or you'd like to be a guest on the show? Drop us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com. We're all ears and we're eager to bring your ideas to life. Stay connected with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, or you can follow us on Instagram and Threads at Canx, that's CANX, for Maintenance Podcast. Lastly, be sure to check out our comics on the Tapas app. We might just be the only webcomic focused on aircraft mechanics. Like, share, subscribe, and leave us your thoughts. Thank you all again for being the great community that you are. Your support means the absolute world to us, and we can't wait to catch you all on the next episode. Until then, keep them flying.